At the end of summer, as you're approaching fall, you want to do this to ensure that you actually get ripe winter squash. There's nothing worse than growing winter squash for months and then having a frost hit and none of the winter squash, or the majority of them, aren't ripe yet. I found in my experience that taking your winter squash off of the vine, if you do have a frost and it's not ripe, it doesn't really ripen off the vine unless it's already partially ripened. Meaning, if it's totally green, I've not found that it ripens off the vine and develops nearly the flavor or the sweetness. So when you're about 4 to 6 weeks away from your first average frost in the fall, this is something that you're going to want to do. And this is coming out to your winter squash. So these are delicata that I have right here. And as you can see, they are massively vining out everywhere, which is great because they actually help to keep weed pressure down, but they develop these really long vines. So this plant actually goes back to the center over there, and it's come all the way in here into the bean tunnel. And here's a good sized delicata. This is not ripe yet. It's starting to change a little bit of color, but it's not completely ripe. And I've got more down towards the center of the plant. But as we start to come out, I've got one here, and then this is continued to vine. And you can see it's producing this really, really long vine. And it does have a blossom on it here, but it doesn't really have any other blossoms here. So the plant is putting energy into continuing to grow this vine out as well as produce blossoms. Now, I know that if we have an early frost, I've got about 4 weeks before our first frost would hit. If we have a later frost, have more of a long warm summer and fall that's mild, maybe 6 weeks. So in 6 weeks' time, this blossom is not going to be able to grow and form and get ripe before the frost takes it out. So we're going to come back, and what I'm going to do is just take some pruners. I've got some nips here, and I'm going to cut this vine all the way back. And that is going to signal to the plant to put all of its energy into the immature squash that are still on the vine and the unripe, and into getting those ripe and then growing out any small fruit. I do have a couple of others where if the fruit's about this big, just is still small, I'll go ahead and leave that and cut right above the vine. And then that will allow that to grow and still get ripe with about 6 weeks. So this is a great tip. And I want to show you, it works with melons as well. So over here we have melons. Now I have tried to grow melons. This is my 3rd year, and I have never gotten anything to develop before. Even starting them in the greenhouse, putting them out early hasn't seemed to matter. But this tip, you guys, I just did this last week. So last week I came out and I tipped all of these back. This little melon that you see here, which isn't it cute? Now we'll see how big and how ripe it actually gets by the time my first frost gets. But this is the most progress I've ever had. So a week ago, 1 week ago, I tipped this. A week ago, this little melon was this size. And this was just a flower. I also tipped this one. You can see where I ripped this one back. So this is the progress in 1 week from tipping. I'm so excited. And then this vine was further along. I also tipped and cut it back. And look at that one. I'm so excited. Now, as I said, the test will be if it actually gets ripened. These are supposed to be a smaller northern melon. I can't wait. I'm so excited. So we'll see what happens if they're actually edible or not. But I just wanted to show you the difference there by tipping them back and how fast it can encourage maturity in just 1 week's time. Now, one of the other things is we've got the peppers are loving. We're supposed to be pretty hot today. We've had a really good hot streak. So the peppers love that. However, I did see here where I've got a pepper that is pretty exposed to the sun. And unfortunately, I have some sunscald on this guy. I really love red bell peppers. So I leave my peppers on the vine to turn red here. But unfortunately, this one got sunscald. However, this half of it's totally fine. So I'll just work this into something this week and just cut that part off. But the peppers are doing great. So I'm super excited to see how well those ripen. And I've got to show you guys this. So I put my hottest variety peppers inside this cold frame because it does help to retain the heat. However, they got big and I don't want them to completely burn. So I did take off the top, and this, as soon as it gets a little bit hotter, this one will rise up. It's on a, as it heats up, it automatically opens. But I'm super excited. This is gochujara, which is a really hot spice, and it's a paste used. My husband loves to use it for kimchi. And look at that. Look at that. They're getting ripe. I'm so excited. So I've got lots and lots of green ones. I just weren't sure if we would have enough heat in order to get them ripe, but they are ripening, so I'm super excited. This is our broccoli. Now, a lot of times people will, once their broccoli and even their cabbage has produced a head, the single head, they harvest it and then they pull the plants. But I want to show you what happens when you leave them in. So I harvested full heads of broccoli from all of these broccoli plants. Look at this. This is all side shoots that have developed into heads of broccoli. Now this one is just getting ready to bolt. Like I said, for the past 2 weeks, we've been in the high 80s, low 90s for about 2 weeks straight here, which is a little unusual for the Pacific Northwest, though it is becoming more of our norm for August, in all honesty. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. I'll take this one inside and just see what I can snip off. We have Cowboy Church tonight on Wednesday, and it's our baptism and potluck night. So I think I'm going to make a broccoli salad. So I'll go in and soak this. Oh, this one's kind of more like broccoli floret, but it's not fully went to seed yet. So we're going to just harvest that. Those are small enough. I'm going to leave them just to see if they'll open and grow a little bit more. Look at this. This is a whole second harvest off of the broccoli. So don't yank your broccoli out. And I do the same thing with the cabbage. So here is normal headed cabbage. So this would be first harvest. I'm letting this one get a little bit bigger. That one's about ready to go. However, I harvested these heads on our last garden tour video. And look at, they produce multiple small mini heads here. Now they don't get as large as their original head, so you're not going to get a large head of cabbage, but you've got all of these little small mini heads here. So these are perfect for doing, of course you're going to have to harvest multiple of them, but these are great to add to stir fries, doing unstuffed cabbage rolls, or even doing, you know, a small batch of curtido or sauerkraut or a coleslaw. So don't be so quick to yank up all of your plants. You can usually get, depending on what the plant is, when you do a harvest off of it, but definitely in the case of cabbage and broccoli, you can get second harvest off the same plant. I don't think I brought a big enough container to harvest. I should have brought my basket out. I thought I was going to get everything in the colander, but it is time for me to harvest our basil again. I've already gotten one really good harvest off basil, talking about not pulling things up. Though I do have, some of this is starting to go to flower, which once it goes to flower, if you don't pinch the flowers off, it signals to the plant, oh, it's time for us to produce flowers and go to seed. And then it stops producing as much of the leaves. So I'm just going to snip off the top of these little blossom areas, mainly just because I don't want to put the flowers there. This part is really stemmy in. So I'm just going to remove these out here. And now we're going to come down, and I'm going to go about halfway down the plant. So we'll see if we don't get an early frost. It still will probably produce a decent amount. And whenever you are harvesting your herbs, and also true for pickles and even broccoli, you want to make sure that you're harvesting in the morning before the full heat of the sun. Not only is it a lot more pleasant for you, but especially when it comes to basil, there's a higher concentration of the essential oils, which is what gives it its flavor. And if you were doing it for medicinal purposes, obviously we would want the highest concentration there for medicinal purposes, though I am not using this basil. This is just to preserve and to cook with medicinally. But you want to do it then so that you have the most flavor, and if it were medicinal, highest concentration in the leaves before it hits the midday heat. And then that's when the plant will send back to its roots a lot of the essential oils, making it less flavorful. I probably should have brought a bigger basket. Okay, now I have my towering pile of basil on top of the broccoli here. So I'm gonna take this in, and I think I'm gonna do a little bit of basil salt to preserve some of it. So let's go on in and we're gonna get to preserving this. This is one of my favorite ways to preserve basil, and it's a really old-fashioned way of preserving that a lot of people don't know how to do or just don't practice anymore. So this is preserving herbs in salt, and basil works really well. I've got a blog post that lists all of the herbs that this works with, but basil is one of my favorite ways. And of course we can dehydrate basil, but I have found, even though basil is very aromatic and it has a lot of flavor, that once it's dehydrated, it just doesn't have that flavor punch to it. I kind of feel like it barely even tastes like basil a couple months after being dehydrated, despite proper storage. So I have been using the salt preservation method of basil for years now, and I love it. It still has that delightful, fresh basil taste, but it will last for months, if not close to a year. If you have a freeze dryer, I love freeze-dried basil, and the remainder of my basil here, and then I still have to harvest a few more plants of basil. I'm going to freeze dry this, but if you don't have a freeze dryer, this works phenomenally well. So I've actually got a blog post that has all of it written out for you. There's 3 different ways you can do it, and it just changes the ratio. So the first that you see here is where we're just taking the whole basil leaves and we're layering them in salt. And then when you go to use them, you simply dump the salt off. You can rinse it if you want, and you throw the basil leaves in. And this will last for months in the fridge. You do still want to store it in the fridge or a cool spot. And then the salt that's sitting on the basil leaves will also absorb some of the flavor. So we're going to use the salt as well, and it will have a light basil flavor. So this is a super easy option if you don't have a food processor or a blender. If you do, then we're going to do, this is where it is 4 parts salt to 1 part basil. And because it's a higher ratio of salt than it is basil, this is going to last up to a year in the fridge. However, it is saltier than this method. And this is the method that I do the most of because I want the full-on basil flavor punch. So for this method, you're going to do 4 parts herb to 1 part salt. So I find it easiest to simply weigh the herb first because that's the majority. And then, so this was 104 grams of basil. So I added 26 grams of salt to this jar. And then we're going to pulse all of this together in the food processor. And it is going to smell delightful. So first, we'll just get all of our leaves in here, smash them down. And because this is a really high-powered food processor, I'm not worried about these little woody stems. It's going to pulse them all up just fine. And then we're going to just put our salt on over top. All right, so then we're going to just pulse all of this up until everything is mixed all together. So now that we have pulsed it, because this is so much more wet herb, oh, you guys, it smells so good. We are going to take this, and you could do this on a rimmed cookie sheet. We're not actually going to dehydrate, but what we want to do before we jar this up and store it in the fridge is we're just going to let this, I'm just using my dehydrator tray because it already has great ventilation and I have the little silicone liner, so this will be really easy to transfer back into the jar. But we're going to just spread this out in a single layer, and we're just going to let this sit at room temperature for a day. and then we'll jar it up and store it in the fridge. So this, because it is such a higher concentration, obviously, of herb to salt, it's going to be wetter, which is why we're going to take this extra step of letting it dry at room temp for just a day. And this will last for about 6 months or so in the fridge. Now, how you use it is anytime you are wanting to season a dish, because even this has salt in it, right? So it's going to be salty. So if I'm making tomato sauce or a casserole or a soup or a stew or scrambled eggs, whatever it is that I want to put this basil on, I don't add any salt to the recipe. I add my herbed basil salt to the recipe and then do a taste test and then see if I need to add any more salt or not. Definitely, I don't ever need to add any more salt when you're using this version that has the higher ratio of salt. And it's just going to depend on the volume. Like I said, if you're doing sauce or soup or stew, the amount of this basil salt that you use when it's the fresher version like this, if you'll need to add any additional salt. Usually I don't. Very rarely, I should say, do I. This usually does all of the salt and herb in one. And this video is sponsored by Azure Standard. Azure Standard is one of my favorite companies for food we're not producing on our own, and they also carry Redmond's Real Salt. So this is great because I can get my Redmond's Real Salt through Azure Standard and not have to pay a shipping fee. And I also can buy it in bulk. So I do 25-pound bags of salt. Salt and honey are the two foods that never perish. Salt lasts forever, which is why we can get salt out of ground deposits because it's been there for very, very long. If your salt gets wet, you simply lay it out, dehydrate it, get the water and moisture content out, and then your salt's fine. It's good to go again. So I keep 25-pound bags of salt. I like to keep between about 50 to 75 pounds of salt on hand because it's not something that we can produce here on our homestead and is very essential to our food preservation, our eating, and our health and well-being. And then what I do is I will transfer some into this 10-pound bucket. And that's what I use if I'm doing something like this that uses, a lot of salt, then I'll just pull my 10-pound bucket out to do something like this. Otherwise, I will just use it and refill my little salt cellar here, and then this will last me for quite a while. It's much easier to pull this out and just refill it when the 10-pound bag gets low, or bucket, than it is to try to pull out the 25-pound bag of salt every time I need to refill the salt cellar or do a large preservation project like this. And the really fun thing is this basil was actually little basil plant starts that I got through Azure Standard. Not only do they have all of your pantry essentials, but they also have gardening things, and they even have a little, they do have, not little, but they have a greenhouse, but they have where you can get live plants from them in the spring as well. And so that's where some of these basil leaves came from. I didn't get all of my basil started by seed that I wanted for this year's harvest, so I got some of that from their plant start section. If you're a brand new customer to Azure Standard, use coupon code Melissa15 and get 15% off your first order of $100 or more, and we'll have the link below this video for you. So we're gonna let this set out for a day, and then we'll simply put it into this jar and keep it in the fridge to use to make all kinds of wonderful dishes with our basil.